Okay, so let us continue with what we were doing last time. So we were here. So this section on statements is actually not really saying anything new. We have already seen what a statement is, right? Anything that you type here as a command is basically a statement followed by some variables, some values, something. Okay. So the whole thing is a command, but if you leave out the values, what remains is what is called a statement. That's all. So there is nothing really special in section 2.4 as such. Okay, so it's fairly understood what a statement is. Let's move on to operations and operands. Okay, and you are all very familiar with what these operations are. The only, so this is addition, subtraction, multiplication is given by asterisk, division is given by backslash. Okay, the only new operation probably that you have not seen before is this double star, double asterisk, which is exponentiation. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples. So this is where we are. So for instance, if I have to add integers, so 5 plus 2, you see nothing shows up. Why? Because it is computing, but we have not asked it to print. You understand? So print 5 plus 2, and now it prints 7. Okay, so keep in mind, always you will have to print something in order for that value to be shown. Is that okay? Right. Try the same with decimal values, and it should give us the same thing. So 5.283 plus 2 and give 7.283. Right. Okay. Subtraction is the same thing. So again, not right. Now you do see this 4. Okay, after a long time. That is because of certain floating point operations that happens inside. So we will discuss why this small 4 comes in detail sometime later. Okay, but basically for our course, this is not so important. Okay, so you might as well think of this as 3.283. There is a little bit very small uh, decimal value of 4 coming after lots and lots of zeros that we can ignore for now. Okay, we will look into why it comes a little later. Okay, but this is supposed to be 3.283. That's all. That's the important thing here. However, if you notice, if you do this with integers, then this will not happen. You'll just get 3. Okay, so with integers, this problem does not arise. Okay, okay. Now multiplication again, 5 into 2 should be 10, right? So when you do one asterisk, you get 10. 5 into 2. And what is the double asterisk? So it's this should give you 5 squared, 5 raised to 2. Okay. That's 25 here. Okay. So asterisk is multiplication and double asterisk is exponentiation. Okay. Raised to, taking the power. Okay. So similarly, for example, if you want to know what is the value of square root of 2, how will you do that? You can write it as an exponentiation, right? So you can write 2 raised to, let me put a bracket, 0.5. You see, because it is square root of 2. Square root of 2 is 2 raised to half. So you're doing 2 raised to 0.5. Or let's make this even simpler. 2 raised to 1 by 2. Okay, 1 by 2 is supposed to be division. Right? 2 raised to 1 by 2. This should be square root of 2. And it gives you that value up to certain decimals, 1.414213. And you know the first few digits of square root 3.1.414. Right? So this is what it is. And division, as you have just seen now, division is whatever, 5.8, and it gives you the corresponding answer. So that is what this is. Very simple calculations, very simple computations, and these are things which most of us are familiar with or very easy to understand. Okay. Let's go to some more complicated stuff. So here there is a section on differences between Python 2.x and Python 3.x. So we will not really care about those things. Okay, we will work only with Python 3.x. Okay, or 2.0. 2 point series is not important to us. We will work with Python 3 and 3 point series. Okay, so going back, when you do 5 divided by 2, you are supposed to get 2.5, right? Because it's 5 divided by 2 as a fraction. But now, if you say 5 backslash 2, understand? It's not 5 and a single backslash, it's 5 and double backslash. 5 backslash 2. What is this? The answer is 2. What is it? It is the quotient that you get when you divide the integer 5 by the integer 2. You remember division algorithm, right? Every number divided by a smaller number gives you a quotient and a remainder, right? So 5 backslash 2 is the quotient. So let me write it here. So this is what's called a comment. So this is no, this is not it. Okay, let's forget that. Okay, so divided by 2 is actually the quotient. Okay. Similarly, what is the remainder? When you divide 5 by 2, the remainder is supposed to be 1, right? So for the remainder, you will use 5 percentage 2. Percentage is for the remainder. Okay, so remainder is 1. Okay, so double backslash is for the quotient and percentage is for the remainder when you're dividing an integer by another integer. Is that okay? Yeah, so that was the important thing. And that is what they have done here. So this is Python 3.0. When you do, so they have given hours, minutes kind of calculation. So you take 59 minutes divided by 60 and you get this, that is close to 1, 0.98333 something. But if you take minute double backslash 60, then you get 0 because 59 is less than 60. You divide 59 by 60 and the quotient is 0. Right? So that is what it is. Okay. And now whatever we did here, these are all expressions. So expression is nothing new. They are simply combinations of values, variables, and operations. Okay. So there's nothing new here. Everything that we saw just now. 5 plus 2, 5.283 plus 2, 5.283 minus 2, 5 minus 2, 5 into 2, 5 raised to 2, double asterisk, 2 raised to 1 by 2, that is square root of 2, 5.3 by 1.8, 5 by 2, 5 double backslash 2, that is 5 quotiented with 2, right? The quotient when you divide 5 by 2, the remainder when you divide 5 by 2, that is 5 modulo of 2. All of these are expressions. Okay, print is not an expression, print is a command. You are evaluating this expression and the value of that expression, you are printing it. Okay, the value of the expression, you print it. Is that all right? So these are all expressions. So that's as simple as that. There's nothing new in this. Okay. So note that here, once again, as we saw before, in this book, they show that when you type 1 plus 1 and press enter, you will get 2. It's not really, that is not exactly how our interface is working. You have to print it in order to see it. Okay. So that is a small difference between uh, different kinds of interfaces. So the book people, whoever wrote this book, whichever interface they are using, whichever mode in which they are using Python, they may not need the print command in order to show this. That is the only difference. Okay, that's why they are able to just see this. We need the print command to see this. That's all. Is that fine? Okay, so let's get back. And here's a cute exercise. Type the following statements in the Python interpreter to see what they do. So in order to know see what you really get, you will have to do print as well. Okay, so print 5, then do x equal to 5 and print x, and then print x plus 1. That's what you have to try to do. Right. So once you have operations, you have the order of operations. So if you remember, there's something called division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Right? You must have learned this in school about how is the order in which the operations should be computed. Right? That is nearly nearly the same order in which Python also computes. The only small difference is brackets. Whenever you have brackets, brackets will be evaluated first. That's the only additional thing you need to know. The other things are nearly the same. Okay. Exponentiation, that is when you raise to some power. This is something that is not really taught in the school. So you first evaluate brackets, then you evaluate powers, and then you do the remaining multiplication, division, addition, subtraction kind of things. Okay. So these two are the two extra things. First brackets, then powers, and then the remaining operations in the usual way. Is that okay? So some of them, so between division and multiplication, you don't really have a preference. They will always be solved left to right. Between addition and subtraction, you don't really have a preference. They will be solved from left to right. Okay, they will always be solved from left to right. So towards the end of this, there are some examples, and try practicing those. Okay. So for instance, let's do one complicated expression. So let me clear this part. Now, so simply go on writing 2 plus 9 into 4 minus 7. Okay. So if I write this, what happens is the brackets, there are two brackets here, the two brackets will be computed individually. Then the subtraction will happen. Okay. But what are the values of these two brackets now? Inside, you have to look at the order. So inside, when you go, you see that this exponentiation will be computed first. 7 raised to 3 will be computed first. Then 9 into 4 multiplication will be computed first. Okay. Then there is a plus and a minus. There is no preference between them. They will simply compute 2 plus whatever you have here minus whatever you have here. So plus to minus, you just go left to right because there is no order between them. Similarly, in the second bracket, 5 raised to 3 will be computed first, 2 raised to 4, 2 into 4 will be computed next because it's multiplication. And then 5 raised to 3 plus 2 into 4 will be computed next. Okay, so what is the final answer? Well, we don't know what the final answer is because there is no print command. Okay, so when you add the print command, this will be the answer minus 438. Just go and check if this is correct. This is just hand working. Okay, so this will have to be the answer. Okay. Okay, and modulus operator we have just seen. Okay, so once again, when you take double bar, it is the quotient, and when you take the percentage symbol, that is the remainder. Is that okay? So if I do some examples, let us say A is equal to 25, B equal to 6, okay, and I say quotient. When I want to get the quotient of A divided by B, I'll say A divided by B quotient. And I want the remainder, I'll say A percentage B. Okay. So note that you can also leave space in between. It really will not matter. It will evaluate the expression without any problem. Okay. So you can always leave a space. That is not a problem. So A divided by B, what will be the quotient? 6 fours are 24, right? So 4 will be the quotient and then remainder will be 1. So let us check whether we get that. So in order to check, we'll have to print quotient and then okay. So yes, quotient is 4 and remainder is 1. Is that okay? All right. So that is where we are. And now comes this even more simpler thing, which is called operations on strings. So basically in string operations, there is not much to do. You just have to, it's all about adding two strings. Okay. Adding two strings is simply placing the two strings one after the other. So here, for example, First is a number 10, second is a number 15. These are two integers. So when you say first plus second, it will add them and the answer 25 will be printed. But when you say first is a string 100, you see there are these uh, apostrophes here. That's why this is a string. This is not an integer. The type of this value is a string. And then the second is 150 again as a string. And when you say print first plus second, it will simply write down the first string and then write down the second string. That's all, 100 and 150 as it is. It will not look at what it is. Okay, it will not look at the value because it's a string. Similarly, you can also do repetitions of strings by using the multiplication operator. How is that? First is a string. Second is now an integer. And when you say string times the integer, it means it will repeat that string multiple times. That is all it is. Okay, so let's quickly check those two things as well. Okay, so string 1 is equal to something. Hello world. String 2 is equal to, note that these variable names are fine because the integer is not at the beginning, it is after the beginning. So I can always keep an integer in the name of the variable. It is allowed. String 2 is equal to welcome to the course. Okay. All right. Now let us see print string 1 plus string 2. Don't leave a space because you cannot do this because then these two names have become different. It's one name, so there cannot be a gap. And then I say print string 1 times 5. I want string 1 to repeat 5 times. So now let us see what happens. So string 1 came as it is. I said plus, and then there is no gap in between. There is no space, so it just showed it as it is. So hello world, welcome to the course. String 1 times 5 repeated this hello world, hello world, hello world, hello world 5 times. Is that okay? Now I can do multiple things like this. So I can say print string 1 times 5 plus string 2 times 3. What do you think will be the answer? Again, the same rule. Multiplication will be followed first and then addition will happen. Okay. So of course you get hello world, hello world, hello world 5 times and then welcome to the course 3 times. Okay. That is what it is. You can also add a string in between. That is also possible. So for example, there is no space here, right? So I can add a space. So I can say string 1, but now there is no space. So I'll open a new string where I'm putting a comma and I'm giving a space. This is a string. Okay, it has length 2. There is a comma and there is a space. That is a string. Okay, and then I say plus string 2. Okay, now if you run this, see hello world, comma, space, welcome to the course. This is the new string that I added, comma and space. Is that okay? So yeah, I hope this much is fine with you guys. And I think now this is enough for the first part of your lab. So I want all of you to go back to the lab and try all of this that we have seen so far and get yourself comfortable with so much. Is that okay? So I'll stop here now. Thanks.